Hmm. Hmm. Greetings, 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 greetings. It is I, King Clifford Jefferson, our Senator Godfrey, the fifth Count of Anjou, the son of folk, the ruler of Jerusalem. I'm the reincarnation of the Vicar of Christ, also known as Malachi Zodok or Melchizedek. We refer to them if you watch my last lesson. He also known as King Edgar the Peaceful, which I am the reincarnation of in this present day and time. It is September 26, 2024, which is equivalent to the Berber year 2974, which is also equivalent to the Hebrew year 5784, which is the actual year for the turn of the Messiah, the King of righteousness, the firstborn, the primogenitor, the one who will bring heaven on earth. I'd like to give honor to my queen, Sister Galveston from the House of Galveston. I also like to give honor to Archbishop Belmont from the House of Belmont, as well as all the saints who are members of the English Third Temple Church of England, a reformation of the Temple English Church of England, all right, which was under the auspices of none other than King Edgar the Peaceful. The flag you see behind me is the flag of the Kings of Wessex, and it was Harold Du Ward that was actually presented at the time of King Edgar's council on the River Dee when he was accompanied by six Frankish and Scottish kings who pledged their allegiance to this King Edgar the Peaceful, which is also known as King Edgar Jefferson because the word peaceful means Jefferson or the son of peace. Okay? So I want to give honor once again to my queen, Sister Galveston, for giving me the ability to be able to plant my feet suitable in the soil as best for my growth. All right. And as a result of that, I have an obligation based on my oath of office and my oath of allegiance to protect the crown, its heirs, and successors. Once again, greetings, Archbishop Belmont from the House of Belmont, my moderator. Thank you for the Wessex flag that you presented to me. It's on my wall right now. So, what better greeting is to greet you with the understanding of the purpose and intent of the Wessex flag, which you see behind us. Okay? All right. So let's get into this marvelous lecture. As you can see the Ren. Ren is an ancient mystical entity known as the dragon, which is symbolic of power, strength, nobility, royalty, etc., all the above. But we're going to see why it's what's so important for the kings of Wessex. We know from the Kings of Wessex, I know there was something I was missing. Hold on. I knew there was something I was missing. We must understand here at the Third Temple English Church of England how important it is to understand this culture, the Wessex culture. It's very important for you to understand this Wessex culture because it is your culture. Culture is just the characteristics of your people. Okay, you must comprehend that. I can't stress enough. All right, so I'm going to show you why it's important. Hmm. This is what you. This is the MS Scroll 1066 of the genealogy of the children of God, and going all the way back to Adam and Eve, all the way up to the Plantagenet King Edward the Fourth. Okay, we have a manuscript from the time of the Middle Ages in regards to the genealogy of those who were depicted on the scroll as the children of Adam and Eve, going all the way down, descending down all the way down to the Plantagenet crown, which all have the characteristics or the complexion of melanated entities. Okay, melanated entities. So I'm just going to scroll down, do it real quick, just to give you a depiction of these entities. I'm not going to be able to be here long tonight. I got my grandson coming, so I'm on the timeline. But I'll try to do my best to make sure that the presentation and the delivery is on point. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So this is the MS Scroll 1066, okay, which is an illuminated manuscript going or depicting all the way from Adam and Eve, going all the way down to Noah. It also deals with the invasions of the Celtics, the inhabitants known as the Celtics or the Britons, as well as the invasion of Rome. It goes into what's his name? Uh, a lot of other stories that were told that were based upon the myth, but it trickled down into of the time when the Anglo-Saxons were converted to Christianity by way of the conversion of the Gregorian mission by Pope Gregory I and Augustine of Canterbury to convert all the Anglo-Saxons to their type of interpretation of Christianity versus our understanding based upon our interpretation of Christianity. So let me just go through this manuscript real quick. Pay very close attention. It's called the MS Scroll 1066. All right. The monograms are stitched together. Okay. The monograms are stitched together. It's 26 feet long, if I'm not mistaken. 26 to 36 feet long. It takes 4 or 5 tables to actually extend the length of the MS Scroll 1066. There go Adam and Eve. Oh, I'm sorry. Adam and Eve. There's Noah. That's Godfrey. I forgot. Just go to the times of the history of stories told by Godfrey, Monmouth, and King Arthur. I forgot the name of the gentleman. If you can watch my previous lecture, we went into the MS Scroll. So for all of those who do not understand the MS Scroll, please refer to my past lecture when I broke down the MS Scroll based upon the interpretation that was done in Penn University, based upon the of what they have in their possession. All right. And I brought more clarity to it than those in Penn University did in regards to the depictions on the actual scroll. All right, so let's scroll on down, below those faces. All right, that's King Arthur right there. All these stories of King Arthur, Godfrey and Monmouth, all these stories were told in reference to the story that took place over in what we call Somerset, Glastonbury, England. Okay, we talked about that in my past videos. Look at these faces, y'all. This is your ancestry. This is your genealogy. Okay, so you're not an immigrant here in the Kingdom of England. Okay, you're not an immigrant. You're not a naturalized citizen. You are a national citizen, but you are a national subject based upon how or the use or the term that we use based upon your oath of allegiance to the king, which we're talking about today. Okay? So this is our ancestry preserved. MS Scroll 1066. Once again, I don't have time to break down this scroll. I will, in certain points of it, show you who some of the people are, as I did a second ago. This is a long scroll, y'all. Melanated beings, entities. Okay? This was a preserved record, a manuscript that was preserved of us, our eternal house, as well as those who married into the eternal house based upon foreign immigration, which is foreign invasion, which is foreign amalgamation, which is the fall of the house, divided amongst them, their self. Okay, we must comprehend that. So whatever I always say, he who writes your book sets your timeline. Time never was when we were not. If the life of time began, the time will come when we as Anglo-Saxon Berbers will be no more. Okay? Misnomer, that's English. We know that didn't come until the time of William the Conqueror in 1066, when Albion was invaded by those who were under the auspices of the Roman Catholic Church under the authority of the Pope by way of the conversion of barbarians into Christianity versus those who were not barbarian, all right, i.e., the Berbers. Okay? All these melanated beings. Some are lighter than the others, some are darker than the others. But nonetheless, they are melanated beings. Okay? It's genetics is involved in this. So if you claim to be somebody, it ain't just by having a name, all right? Because just soil and just ingredients is two different things. All right. Just because you're born somewhere, it don't make you a subject or a citizen. Subject or citizenship is based upon your allegiance and your affiliation with that body of politics, which is based upon your national allegiance to that nation as being one of those people. Okay. So those people who carry these names are not the true heirs and the descendants of the people where the name originated from. We must comprehend that because Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, George Washington, all these people who claim to be descendants of English history were British subjects. Okay? So they were allowed to come here based upon their ability to be able to inhabit another territory other than their own. All right, other than their own. Here go William the Conqueror. Okay, so other than their own. And when this immigration started, it was based upon their ability to become citizens or subjects as a result of the foreign policy that allowed them to be there in the first place. All right, that's the purpose of understanding immigration. You must understand immigration because in order to understand who's an immigrant, you must understand the laws of immigration. All right. In order for you to understand who is an immigrant, you must understand the laws of immigration. Okay. So you must ask yourself, are you, in fact, an immigrant? Okay. Not just based upon conversation, based upon some implementation of some policy, statute, or law. Are you an immigrant, i.e., a naturalized citizen? Because an immigrant is the same or synonymous with a naturalized citizen, contrast to you being an immigrant that's a foreign national. But you're not here in your national country that will be foreign to America. You're here in America. And America is not based upon any nationality, based upon some genealogy or any ties to the land. It's based upon the color of a skin. All right. We talk about again tonight because only I, the king, understanding of the common law of England, can solve the immigration crisis. It has always been in the hands and the power of the king. Okay? Hand getting tired. So I'm going through the scroll. I'm going all the way down just to see how far. It ain't stopped yet. Okay? This is all the preserved history of Berbers. Okay? Of Berbers. All right. I'm a here go um King Arthur. Okay? That's King Arthur right there. Melanated people. Do y'all see that? Do you see that, Brother Thomas from the House of Thomas? Do you see that? Okay. Now we get into the unification because we know that a house divided cannot stand. All right. This is why the fusion of government is important. All right. Based upon the vested power that created the government to infuse it together based off the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Yes, King Arthur had those locks too. Absolutely right, Archbishop. Okay, so these are the seven kingdoms, all right, that were our kindred. All right, we were kin, living in tribes, okay, living in tribes, trying to find ourselves from our original position, all right. We must understand that it's very important. And then, as a result of the conflict between the tribe, King Edgar had to be born by virtue of what we call primogeniture to bring the tribe together. All right, but it had to come through the family, the bloodline, not just because you're born on the soil, because you were in the blood. Okay, and that starts by unifying all the kingdoms into one kingdom, and that kingdom starts with the kingdom of Wessex, which is Alfred the Great. It went from seven kingdoms to five kingdoms to four kingdoms, to three kingdoms to two to one. Okay, this is when it's being consolidated. Okay, right here, right about here. That's when all the houses was consolidated. All right, these are the kings of Wessex. These are all the kings of Wessex right here. We must comprehend that. All right, our Jesus Christ is somewhere down here. Edgar, right here. If I'm not mistaken, he's here. I might be wrong. He might be further down. Okay. Watch the last lecture for that clarity. Okay. But nonetheless, once again, these are all our brothers and sisters. When you get here, this is William the Conqueror. Okay. This is when all those who invaded Albion, then misnumbered Britannia, then misnumbered Britain. Okay, all these names came after. All right, so we must comprehend and take it back to the origin, how it was designed by the originator. Okay, these are our ancestors, the King of Wessex. This is why your king is flying the flag behind us. Okay, the flag of Wessex, because we're still at war. King Edgar buried this flag when he was being rolled down the River Dee as a symbolic of his authority and it's symbolic of the allegiance that those who took an oath to his authority, which were the 8 kings, all right, which were the 8 kings, which we'll show you right now, okay, all right. These are the 8 kings who swear an oath to our Jesus Christ. King Edgar the Peaceful. As you can see, the flag of Wessex, the wreath dragon, and the Wessex culture goes all the way back to the Neolithic time, which gave birth to what we call the Bronze Age. So we go back to what we call time immemorial. We must comprehend that. Why is this important? Let's see. It says King Edgar's flag may have. Let's see. That's right. Yeah, King Edgar's flag may have featured a golden ring or red on a red background, which is similar to the design of the Wessex flag. Description: the Wessex flag is a gold ring on a red background, which you see right here displayed before you. Okay. King Edgar's flag may have feature of a gold ring on the red background. A painting by James E. Doyle depicts King Edgar being rowed across the River Dee by 8 kings with a golden ring on a red flag at the stern of the boat. This may be the first time the ring was depicted as a Wessex emblem in flag form. The Wessex flag is based on the ancient West Saxon standard, which was carried into battle by the English until the 15th century. Do everybody understand that? Do everybody understand that? I hope you do. Because under the protection of the common law of England, this is what we're supposed to comprehend. Because only the king can protect you from being deported, all right, as a result of you lacking the citizenship, which we know, according to America, it has to do with an oath of allegiance, okay? An oath of allegiance. So all those who are viewing this lesson, please pay very close attention. All right? Please pay very close attention. The majority of us right now, all right, the majority right now are here. Okay, take a good look at this picture. All right. A lot of you are in the same position that these people here. All right. You don't see any eyes, nose, mouth. All you see is a body with no face. Okay. A body with no face. All right. This represents the original position that all of you come here when you take on a form of citizenship. Okay. When you take on a form of citizenship, this is the original position that they put you in based off a thought experiment that they created for you. All right, which is your matrix. Okay. We were not included in that matrix based upon the thought experiment. Okay. So we have to use the thought experiment to get out of the matrix, and that only comes through understanding who you are. All right. Who you are. All right, especially in regard to your protection at law. Because here in America, you don't got no protection in that law because America was based upon foreign relations. This is why people identify as Negro, black, colors, or whatever other name can't get any protection, can't get any rights, can't get any freedoms and liberties that denote to what a citizen or a subject is supposed to get as a result of you're not being part or included in what the purpose and intent of why this nation was founded. And it was founded on foreign relations. Foreign relations. Okay? You can see here, you see a lady holding up a sign saying that, and they agree. They understand that we are immigrants. There's no question for them. They comprehend that. Okay? The one on my right holding up the flag says, immigrants make this nation great. They are aware of their position here. Okay? They are aware of this position here. The other two on my right, one with the flag and the other one with the two signs, parts of, they're not flags, they're actually signs. One on my left is a lady holding up a sign saying, we are all immigrants, which means it's the recognition of your obligation as an immigrant immigrating to this territory, now known as North America, prior to the other names it was called, okay? Which is where your so-called liberties come from, all right? On my right, you see another depiction of somebody holding up a sign that says, immigrants make up this nation, make this nation great. So he recognized that the impact that immigrants have, as well as him having as regards to founding of and the purpose and intent of why this nation. Okay. The other one holding the sign down, which says, what country is this? Must be a new immigrant. Okay. Because you don't know where she at. She might have came across the border for all we know. Okay. And as you can see, the other dark-skinned individuals, the two on my right, apparently these two brothers don't know who they are. They're just looking at for freedom. Okay? And then the other lady on my left is holding up a sign with nothing in it about freedom. But how could you obtain freedom when you know nothing about citizenship? When you know nothing about citizenship. And for all those who are here tonight, and for all those who are not going to be here tonight, if you miss this class, then it's on you because you're going to be in a world of trouble. Okay? You are in a world of trouble. Why is this so important? Why is this so important? All right? Let's comprehend this, y'all. That's you see, let me just show you our status and my status and prove that we are citizens here in North America. Because as we said, if in order for you to be an heir on some land, all right, then that person who owns the land has to make sure that one that you are an heir, right? Two, that you have a right to the inheritance by obligation, oath of allegiance, all right, to the king. But if you break your oath, then that's called abjuration. And abjuration, which means a dissolving of your citizenship. Okay, we must comprehend that. All right, most citizens here in North America are immigrants, so that means that they committed an act of abjuration to their national country because they came over here. Okay, so you committed an act of treason against your own country. All right. So if you try to go back there, claim to be a United States citizen, you're gonna be in a world of trouble, especially in this day and time. Because all around the world, the issue right now is what? Everyone say it, immigration crisis. All right? Immigration crisis. Why? Because nobody don't know where they belong. They're immigrating to places that they don't know where they belong. And 99% of those who are identified as black people are in that same position. You do not know where you belong. I'm trying to show you where you belong, but you keep ignoring what it is that I'm trying to show you. And as a result of that, you're going to be sent home packing. You're going to be sent packing. Okay? You made your choice. It ain't, you can't say you didn't know. You're being told right now. No, we didn't. We didn't know. Let's see. Have you been told? I didn't tell you. All right, I'm telling you now, but you've been told prior to me telling you now. All right, let's see. Not just talking about it, but having concrete facts to qualify what it is that we're talking about. Okay? Concrete facts. Immigration Act. Everybody give a thumbs up if you like the content. The Immigration Act, am I showing this? Hold on. Make sure y'all see this. Immigration Act of 1924 by Johnson, or the Johnson-Reed Act, including the Asian Inclusion Act and National Origin Act. We go back to Inwe Ahmad Hassan. We understand the standard for citizenship in North America. It ain't based upon no ethnicity or genealogy test. All right, based upon some blood. It's based upon how they defer citizenship on a person based upon just soil, not by the blood, which is just ingredients. All right. For any citizen, state, federal, all right, very important on any territories that is now under the control, under the foreign power dealing with foreign relations that the United States now have. Okay. They have no control over the states themselves internally based upon their internal government, but based upon the uniform of them joining the union, then based upon the interest of the United States in regards to foreign relations, they do have a contract. Okay. Greetings, Countess Middleton. All right. Very good um, dissertation as well. Very proud of you. Good job. So the Immigration Act of 1924, or the Johnson-Reed Act, including the Asian Inclusion Act and National Origin Act, you hear that? National Origin Act, was a federal law that prevented immigration from Asia and set quotas on the number of immigrants from Eastern and Southern Europe. It also authorized the creation of the country's first formal border control. The United States Border Patrol established a consular control system that allowed entry only to those who were first obtained a visa from a United States consulate abroad. Do you understand that? Okay, so if you're a foreign national, if you're not a citizen of the state of the United States based upon their immigration process, you better have a visa in your pocket. All right? You better have a visa in your pocket. All right? Especially in this time. Why is that important? Because if you don't have a visa in your pocket, then that means you're going to have to prove that you are, in fact, a citizen. And the only way you can do that, based upon the intentions of their citizenship quota, based upon how they deemed it when they first founded their Congress, all right, you must understand that it was based upon the color of a skin. Okay, and as we can see in that depiction, they recognized they were immigrants because the white lady was holding up a sign saying that we are immigrants. Okay, they recognize that they're immigrants. All right, the ones on also what was holding up sign, they recognized that it was immigrants who built this country. Okay, they recognize that. So where are the black people? All right, what did they do to help this country? Okay, before it was called America, what did they contribute to this country? All right, what recognition are they getting? No one knows, all right, because we can't prove we belong here, all right? So in order to do that, we know we ain't immigrants, so let's go to the Naturalization Act, because this didn't even include us, based upon Inwe Ahmad Hassan. It says right here. I'm going to be quick because I ain't got that much time. Hope you all can comprehend. Thank you for the shout out, Countess Middleton. The Naturalization Act of 1790 was a law of the United States Congress that set up the first uniform rule of granting United States citizenship by naturalization. Did you hear that? It didn't say nothing about nationalization. It said naturalization. And naturalization for them is naturalization. And naturalization is a process when you allow a foreign, i.e., an immigrant, to become a subject of that state within the United States. And as a result of that, you now have an oath of allegiance. Okay? Straight facts. The law limited naturalization to free white persons of good character, thus excluding Native Americans, indentured servants, enslaved people, free Africans, Pacific Islands, and 9 non-white Asians. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So we could never be a citizen of the United States based upon the declaration that was made by that statute, Naturalization Act of 1790. Okay, it only made reference to free white persons with good character. Okay, because their nation is based upon a characteristics of a nation, which has nothing to do with a nation, because a nation has to do with what? A geographical location and the people who reside on that geographical location and their affiliation with the government and that geographical location, because that's the protection that you receive. Right now, none of you have that protection. None of you, right? Because if you're an immigrant, then you got to do what they say. If you were naturalized, then you were included in the package deal because they just told you then. It was just for them, and they were specific about who can be in that case system, who could be in that group, who could be in that club, who could be in that cabinet. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Who could be in that group, all right, or that coat, whatever you want to call it, all right. So the Naturalization Act, based upon those founding fathers, which has to do with the color of the skin, we can't use that type of privilege to identify ourselves because we'll never be equal to them based upon the exclusions, all right, that they put in place. All right. You must comprehend that. So, in order for us to understand how we were excluded in the Naturalization Act, we must know what preceded the Naturalization Act, and we go to the Plantation Act for that. All right. We have to go to the Plantation Act because this shows you that right now all you are foreigners. Even black people are foreigners because you weren't included in the Naturalization Act of 1790. If you weren't included in that, then the president that preceded it was the Plantation Act, and you damn sure weren't included in that because if that was the case, Dred Scott would have never been in the position that he was in. Okay? Because it was the Scottish kings sitting on the English crown who passed these laws to keep you in the state of servitude. Okay? And under the status as an immigrant, a foreigner. Okay? A foreigner. You know how I do, Archbishop Belmont. The Plantation Act of 1740, referring to the colonies, not yet called states. All right? Or the Naturalization Act of 1740, the same type of act that was created in 1790 called the Naturalization Act. And they call themselves white people. Why? Because they broke away from what everybody said? The crown. Okay? It was the de facto crown, but nonetheless, it was the crown. So the Naturalization Act of 1740 are common names used for an act of British parliamentary by King George II that was officially titled an Act for Naturalization such foreigners, Protestants, and others therein mentioned as are settled or should be settled in His Majesty's colonies in America. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So you can adopt a new name. You're still subject to the crown. Okay? And if you ain't claimed to be subject to the crown, then guess what? You subject to abjuration. Let's pull that up real quick. Citizens. Right now, all of you are committing this act or will be subject to this if you don't come back to the church. Okay? Abjuration is a solemn repudiation, abandonment, or renunciation by an open oath upon oath, often the renunciation of citizenship or some other right or privileges. So if you immigrate here in North America, if you become a naturalized citizen based upon your oath, then that is an act of abjuration, not just to the past kings, but to the present king, i.e., your king here today. And that's how I'm going to make my conclusion. All right. All right. It's business. All right. You are committing an act of abjuration. Why? Because abjuration is an act of violating your oath, which is treason. Abjuration of the rim was a type of abjuration in ancient English law. The person taking the oath swore to leave the country directly and promptly, never to return to the kingdom unless the permission of the sovereign. All right. Why do you think those immigrants immigrated from the other countries as a result of them being expelled? Okay. We must comprehend that. So as a result of that, you're not honoring your king with your oath of allegiance as your Lord. This is your penalty, a result of an abjuration from my rim. Okay? You can believe it if you want to. It will be at your front door pretty soon. All right? So let's get back to immigration dealing with the Naturalization Act. So the Naturalization Act, as we know, of 1740, 1790 was for those who would become citizens of the new United States that has the only authority it has is to deal with foreign relations. Okay, foreign relations, and that was preceded by the Plantation Act of 1740, which was the act passed by the British monarchs. All right, so you ain't had no choice. All right, especially when they allowed you to immigrate to the territories which were governed under the English crown. Okay, and they Scottish kings. They Scottish king. It was an official act titling the naturalization, such as foreign Protestants and other therein mentioned as are settled or still settled in any of His Majesty's colonies in America. Okay, so this was affiliated with the church. Did you hear that? All right, wasn't no separated church at this time. There was a fusion of government. Keep that in mind. There was a fusion of government because this is how the United States violated this law by breaking away from the fusion of government by the vested power that it created for itself by the creation of that de facto constitution. Okay? You didn't have the authority to vest yourself with that power because the only power has in lieu of investing is the king himself. Okay? It's the king himself. Let's just prove it. Act of settlement. Act of Settlement 12 of King William, is an act of Parliament England that, you hear that? England. It didn't say Scotland, it didn't say, now I was about to say Irish. It said it was the Parliament of England that settled the succession to the English and the Irish crown to only Protestants. You hear that? Which passed in 1701. More specifically, anyone who became a Roman Catholic or who married one became disqualified to inherit the throne. Okay? So as we can see, both of these had to do with immigration and the subjectivity based upon who those who immigrated to the colonies that were under the Kingdom of England, but under the uh, uh, dictatorship of what we call that head of state, now known as those de facto monarch. Okay, we must comprehend. I got to move fast because I got a little bit of time. Okay, so as a result of that, and we know that originated from what? Calvin's case. Okay, everyone heard the Calvin's case, right? Calvin's case, also known as the case of Post-Sinai, was a 1608 English legal decision establishing that a child born in Scotland after the Union of the Crowns, and we know the Union Crowns was in what? 1707. All right? No, 1701. 1701, 1701, 1707. Under King James VI of Scotland and the first King of England in 1603 by the authority passed to him or vested to him by Elizabeth I, and was considered under the common law to be an English subject and entitled to benefits of English law. So now the Scottish people are allowing Protestants from the who were apart originally from the Roman Catholic Church to inhabit the inherited right of those who are English subjects. And we know that the Naturalization Act, and we know that the 1790 and the Naturalization Act of 1740 and the Calvin's case and the Settlement Act are all dealing with what we call those Roman Catholics who broke away from the Roman Catholic Church. They have nothing to do with the English people. Guess why? Because the English people are the so-called people identified as black, and they don't know who they are. All right, they're not immigrants. Okay, you are English. I just showed you the MS Code 1066, going all the way back to Adam and Eve, all the way to Plantagenet and King Edward IV, and they set up the right based upon those who were heirs to the Kingdom of England, based upon an intel estate, which was initiated by the primogenitor firstborn. Okay, the firstborn who will revive the estate based upon the understanding of how to preserve crown land, which is intel. Why? Because it's personified by who? Archbishop? The crown, the monarch. Okay, His Majesty. We must comprehend what's going on. Let's move forward. Then we got the last type of citizenship for the black people, the 14th Amendment. Okay, so in regards to citizenship, we were the last thing that was on their mind in regards to making somebody a citizen or a subject. Black people. Why? Because they were still trying to find out what the hell to do with us. They were trying to find out what to do with us. All right? The 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution to the United States Constitution was adopted July 9, 1868, as one of the Reconstruction Amendment. Okay? So this is how the Negro, Black, colored, Ethiopians, who, based upon the color of skin, have nothing to do with a nation or a country, because that's not the purpose or intent for this country. It only had to deal with foreign relations. But the foreign relation is a violation of the relations under the crown, because the crown owns the land, not those who are doing foreign relations on the land, i.e., what we call commerce. All right, let's move forward. Article 1. Let's see how they get this power to control immigration. Okay? Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States established a legislative branch of the federal government and the United States Congress. Under Article 1, Congress is the bicameral legislature, consists of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Article 1 grants Congress varied and numerous powers and the ability to pass laws necessary and proper to carry out those powers. Okay? This is called the invested right of the legislator. Okay? The invested right of the legislator. Okay? Which originated only by way of the creation of their Constitution. Okay? Let's move forward. All right? Let's look at the legislative vested clause. Article 1, Section 1. All right? Still talking about United States Congress and those who make up Congress and the powers that they have in lieu of their foreign relation power to deal with foreigners, okay? Because they can't deal with real citizens, okay? Why? Because the power is in the people. But what people? Because the people don't know who the hell they are. They still think they're immigrants, okay? Let's say the vested clause. The United States Constitution should bestow the legislative power of the United States federal government to the United States Congress. Similar clauses are found in Article 2 and Article 3. The former bestows federal executive power, not legislative power, but executive power, exclusively to the president who's acting as if he's the king and he don't have the power. All right? How you doing, Dang Dang? As if he's has the power and he don't. And later grants judiciary power solely to the United States Supreme Court and other federal courts to established by law. These three clauses together secure a separation of power. You hear that? So the vesting clause created the power to separate the government. Okay? The vested clause of the legislative Article 1 and vested them with the power to separate the power of government. Okay, and that was a violation of law because prior to that separation, there was a fusion of government. Okay, there was a fusion of government. Fusion of government. Let's look at that real quick. The fusion of power is a feature of parliamentary forms of government where different branches of government are intermingled or fused, typically the executive, legislative branch. It is contrast. It is contrasted with the separation of power found in presidential, semi-presidential, and dualistic parliamentary forms of government, where the membership of the legislative and executive power cannot overlap. So you got a difference of fusion of government and separation of power. And that only came by the vested power that was created by the legislative branch when they created their de facto government. Prior to that, there was a fusion of power, and the fusion of power didn't allow a separation of power because we know that that is where the church comes in. Okay? So we know that when they created the separation of power by the vested power created by the legislative power created by their constitution, they would have the authority now vested in them to separate God's church. Okay? To separate God's church. We must comprehend that. The separation of church and state is a philosophical and jurisprudential concept for defining political distance in relationship between religious organizations and the state. Conceptually, the term refers to the creation of a secular state, you hear that? With or without legally explicit church-state separation and the establishment the changing of the existing formal relationship between the church and the state. I'm going to read that again. The separation of church and state is a philosophical and jurisprudential concept for defining political distances in the relationship between religious organization and the state. Conceptually, the term refers to the creation of a secular state. King Edgar told you not to create a secular state by way of the English Reformation that was done in 975. And as a result of you creating a secular state, I had to reincarnate in this day and time to do away with the secular state, which with or without legally explicit church state separation, and to the establishment, the changing of the existing formal relationship between the church and the state, i.e., that fusion of government. So that is very important to understand how they broke away from the church by separation of the church by the vested power that they received by way of the vesting clause of Article 1, Section 1, based upon the creation of the first article, which was the legislative article governing the laws that they will be able to create it and pass that power by way of it being vested to who? The so-called president, who by fact is not who? The king. All right? Very important to understand that. Let's move forward. Founding fathers. All right? Founding fathers. The founding fathers of the United States are simply referred to as the founding fathers, were a group of late 18th century American revolutionary leaders who united the 13 colonies, oversaw the War of Independence from Great Britain, established the United States of America, and crafted a framework of government for the new nation. Okay, that's all they did. Okay, they oversee a government that was already in place. Okay, they oversee a government that was already in place. In fact, they were the actual trustees until they broke away based upon Article 23 of New Jersey's Constitution that said that based upon the intention of that Constitution, all right, they agreed based upon that oath of allegiance that if there was ever a reconciliation based upon the fusion of government that was there prior to the separation of church and state, due to their vested power, that that Constitution and all the vested power that they have, based upon the vested clause to separate the fusion of government as well as separate the church and state, it will be considered now null and void. It will be considered null and void. Well, how do I know this? How do I know this? All right. We know that. Where we at? Let's go ahead. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you like what you hear so far. All right, here we go. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18. English common law on immigration. Okay? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18. You see it right here, Cornell Law School. Let's read it. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 is rooted in the English common law in regards to immigration that was passed to the United States back when it first originated as a result of them, the Revolutionary War, as a result of what the Scottish monarchs were doing, based upon them undermining the true intentions of what we call the crown. Okay? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 states that Congress shall have the power, so this is the vested power that they have, to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all the powers vested by this Constitution and the government of the United States or any department and officer thereof. What is the purpose and intent for this power is what we should be asking ourselves. Because we think this is power dealing with citizenship, citizens. All right. I mean, I'm part of not citizens, but the internal structure of those citizens who are part of the internal government. But that's not the power they're talking about. Let's see. It says, before the Constitution was ratified, that means before it was fixed, the English common law recognized that the monarch had authority to bar aliens from entering the country and expel those who had entered, although exposing power may have been subject to limitations. William Blackstone's writing in 1765 revealed the law of nations and summarized the basis for the monarch exclusion and explosion power as follows. Let's see. It left its power of all states to take such measures about the admission of strangers as they think convenient, those being ever accepted who are driven on the coast by necessity or by any cause that deserves pity or compassion, so long as their nation continues at peace with ours, and they themselves behave peacefully. Foreigners are under the king's protection, though liable to be sent home whenever the king sees occasion. Did you hear that, y'all? Blackstone was an authority most familiar to your framers, and his endorsement of the principles that sovereign possessed power to exclude or expel aliens from their territories was widely shared by scholars of the law of the nation in the 18th and 19th century. You see where they got it from? Many of these scholars, however, concluded that the proper exercise of the power required the sovereign to state good reason for the citizens to deny entry to an alien. Scholars are debated the extent of the expulsion power, with some arguing that the expulsion of resident aliens requires special justification. Okay, let's check out something they say in the footnote. Right here. One, it says legal historians agree that the power to exclude or prevent entry could be exercised by the king alone without any criminal process. In regard to the power to expel non-citizens from within England, there is some disagreement as a theoretical matter as to whether the power could be exercised through civil administrative fiat or solely through the criminal process. As practical matters, however, the historical record demonstrates that expulsion was exercised exclusively as a common form of criminal punishment in England, imposed on both citizens and non-citizens as early as the 13th century. In Fong Yong Ting versus United States, in England, the only question that has ever been made in regards to the power to expel aliens has been whether it could be exercised by the king without the consent of Parliament. Judge Fields dissenting argued that deportation for the realm has not yet been exercised in England since the Magna Carta, except in punishment for crime or the measure in view of existing or anticipated hostile. Very important because when you're talking about immigrations, you're talking about aliens. We're talking about aliens, you're talking about foreign, i.e., foreign national. Okay, and we understand the true intent of the purpose of foreign nationals immigrating to another country, which to allow them to have what they call citizenship, which they call naturalization, being either immigrate to the soil or being born to the soil, you're still a naturalized citizen, but not of the blood that's inherited for those who are also born on the soil, but have an inherited right to the soil and everything that belongs on it. Okay? Everybody give a thumbs up if you like what I just said. Let's move forward. All right? I only got a couple more minutes now. British and American colonial naturalization, because we're talking about the rights of citizenship, i.e., naturalization, that was allowed by the British monarch, which American colonies adopted, which is the process they call naturalization, which is under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. Let's see. All right, let's see. You can't know what they're talking about. Only I can stop this immigration crisis. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1. The Congress shall have power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcy throughout the United States. American conception of citizenship is informed by the English common law. Did you hear that? English common law. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 mentioned the English common law. So everything that the United States should be doing is based off the English common law. See you later, mama. The American conception of citizenship is informed by the English common law doctrine of just so right of soil, in which a person's nationality at birth is determined by the territory where that person is born. Under English common law, any person born in England or any territory within the rim of England, including its American colonies, you hear that? Any person born within the rim of England, including its American colonies, was considered a subject of the crown and entitled to certain benefits of subjecthood unavailable to others. You hear that? So everybody can't get the rights and the protection of the crown. Okay? Because only those who get the protection of the crown are those who are heirs, because the crown, i.e., the king, protects crown land. All right, we must understand that. All right, so it's not available to others. A foreign national born outside of England and its domains can only become a subject through private legislation conferred by statute, which is the one we just read. Okay, typically, this was an expensive process for intended beneficiaries of the bill, and in practice, private bills which were subject to fees were only available to those with substantial wealth. Otherwise, English law afforded no mechanism by which a foreign national could naturalize and become a subject. Even so, some of the American colonies developed their own naturalization policies that enabled foreign nationals to enjoy some of the rights and protections traditionally afforded to English subjects. You see how they're still in that right? During the 18th century, prior to America's independence, the British Parliament passed laws that allowed certain foreign nationals to naturalize and become subjects if they met specific requirements under the law. We already went through those exceptions. All right, the Naturalization Act of 1740, the Natural Act of 1790, Calvin's case, the Settlement Act. We already went to those, so we know that this is what the United States and the colonies adopted. Okay, we must comprehend that. Why is this important? Because we're talking about the common law. All right? We're talking about the English common law. Why is this important? All right? Common law. Let's see the common law because we got a picture right here. We don't want to look it up on Wikipedia, right? We want some legal, concrete proof about the understanding of common law from them. So here you see New Jersey courts, because we got a case filing the courts right now based upon the return of the land pursuant to the common law, so that I can return it back to the true heirs based upon their inheritance that was promised by the king. Okay? All right? So I know what I'm doing. All right? This is on New Jersey court on their website in regards to our rights that they recognize, preserve, and understand full well. All right. Let me share this. Same thing. You're looking at 1947 Constitution. Constitution created a court system capable of responding to the needs of New Jersey citizens and to changing our society. For more than 7 decades, New Jersey Supreme Court has gained recognition nationally among the state's highest court for its timely, prudent, and well-conceived innovations through that English common law. The common law, like other jurisdictional judicial principles, arise out of court ruling, resolves controversies presented to the court by people in search of solutions. Individuals and others ordinarily, with the help of lawyers, select the issue to present to a court, and in effect, the common law results from judicial decisions resolving those issues case by case. So this is what I'm going to for our remedy. It's called feudal relief. Origination of the common law. Being one of the original 13 colonies, New Jersey has been strongly influenced by the English law and the Anglo-Saxon tradition. The three branches of the government enshrined in the United States Constitution, as well as New Jersey's Constitution, are derived from English history. The king was the executive branch, Parliament the legislative branch, and the court is judicial branch. It is in the English judicial that the foremost civilized system for resolving disputes and addressing crimes originated amongst the English-speaking people. It was in early courts in England that the common law took root and evolved to our current system of courts, judges, and juries. The common law we know today dates back to the 12th, 13th century and derived from the reign of King Henry II, who appointed judges to resolve disputes among his subjects, especially dealing with that of citizenship, because citizenship is protected and determined by the common law. Let's go to it in closing, okay? Let's go to it in closing. Where we have it right here. Let's go to that case they mentioned, Fu Yongying, all right, versus United States. Let's go to page. Let's just read. This is a Supreme Court case, all right, Supreme Court case in New York, District Court of New York, a petition to the Supreme Court as a result of the appeal that was done to the Circuit Court, all right. It says the right to exclude or to appeal, expel aliens or any class of aliens, absolutely or upon certain conditions, in war or in peace, is an inherited and inalienable right of every sovereign nation. This flag represents we are in a state of war. Okay, we are in a state of emergency. As a result of that, we have to expel those who are on that land unlawfully, and that includes those who are of the United States. In the United States, the power to exclude or to expel aliens is vested in the political department of the national government and is to be regulated by a treaty or by an act of Congress. We just already read, based upon the common law of England, based upon the power of a sovereign to have to expel those who are foreigners, which resided in a monarch before it originated in the constitutional power vested by the legislative power by way of Article 1, Section 1, okay, which gave them the ability to take the power from the monarch based upon the separation of the fusion of power through separation of church and state, okay? We must comprehend and know the lingo in order for us to get a better understanding of where you're going to fit at in this particular society we have here today, known as the English Society, known as the Third Typical English Church of England, a reform of the English Church of England that was reformed from the English Benedictine reform of those who are what we call not part of the secular church, okay? So we see here, it says here that this was a decision of the Supreme Court in regards to the power of a sovereign to exclude, expel, allow, deny, etc. foreigners, i.e. subjects, i.e. citizens that are not national citizens of that actual nation from that land that you immigrated to, okay? In your own land, you are national, but here you're not, and that's going to be the issue here today, in these coming days and time, as you can see around the nation. So when I come to my closing, let's go to page 6. Let's see. I'm almost finished, bro. Oh, I'm sorry. What I'm doing? 6. Page 6. Okay, here we go. All right, this is what they said. Mr. Justice Field made the dissent in the case in regards to the power of alienating foreigners. It said, in the elaborate opinion delivered by Mr. Justice Field in behalf of the court, it was said that those laborers are not citizens of the United States. They are aliens. That the government of the United States, through the action of the legislative department, can exclude aliens from its territory. It is a proposition which we do not think open to controversy. Jurisdiction over its territory to that extent is an incident of every independent nation. It is part of its independence. If it could not exclude aliens, it would be to that extent subject to the control of another power. The United States and their relation to foreign countries and their subjects or citizens are one nation invested with the power which belongs to independent nations to exercise which can be evoked for the maintenance of its absolute independence and security throughout its entire territory. It was also repeated the language by Mr. Justice that the United States is not only a government, but it's a national government and the only government in this country that has the character of a nationality. You hear that? The character of a nationality. It is invested with the power over all foreign relations. You hear that? Only foreign relations of the country, war, peace, and negotiation and intercourse with other nations, all of which are forbidden to the state government. Why? Because they didn't want the state in messing around and messing what they did to take the power from the state, which was originally under the power of the crown as a result of New Jersey, because New Jersey represented the crown back in 1776 when the United States came and created a constitution. All right, let's come to our closing. Where we at? Okay, almost finished. All right. It says here, in England, the only question that had ever been made in regard to the power to expel aliens has been whether it could be exercised by the king without the consent of Parliament. It was formerly exercised by the king, but at a later time by Parliament, which passed several acts on the subject between eminent English judges sitting in judicial committees of the Privy Council and have gone very far in supporting the exclusion or exposing by the executive authority of a colony of aliens having no absolute right to enter into the territory to remain there. Once again, remember the power of the president is actually the power of the king. The only reason why the president have it is a result of their vesting clause under Article 1, Section 1, to be able to separate the power of the government by separating church and state. So this is in 1837 in the case of Rodney. I don't want to read that. Let me just go here. The fact appearing on the record raised quite apart from the statute referred to a grave question as to the plaintiff's right to maintain action. He can only do so if he can establish that an alien has a legal right enforceable by action to enter British territory. No authority exists for the proposition that an alien has any such right. Circumstances may occur. Oh, sorry, y'all. Circumstances may occur in which the refusal to permit an alien to land might be such an interference with international comity as would properly give rise to diplomatic remonstrance, remonstrance, remonstrance from the country of which he was a native. But it's quite another thing to assert that an alien excluded from any part of His Majesty's dominion by the executive government there can maintain an action in a British court and raise such questions as were argued before their lordship on a present appeal. Whether the proper officer for the giving or refusing access to the country has been duly authorized by its own colonial government, whether the colonial government has received sufficient delegated authority from the crown to exercise the authority which the crown had a right to exercise through the colonial government if properly communicated to it, and whether the crown has a right without parliamentary to parliamentary authority to exclude the alien. Their lordship cannot assent to the proposition that any alien refused permission to enter British territory can, in a action in a British court, compel the decision of such matters as these, involving delicate and the difficult constitutional question affect the respective rights of the Crown and Parliament and the relation of this country to her self-governing colony. When one is admitted that there is no absolute and unqualified right to action on behalf of an alien refusal admission to British territory, their lordship are of opinion that it will be impossible upon the facts which a dismissal admits for an alien to maintain an action. Okay? So there you have it. We must understand that our ancestors have preserved our state as a result of it being part of Crown land. And Crown land, in closing, is also known as the royal domain and is a territory area belonging to the monarch, personifies the crown. It is the equivalent of an entail estate and passes with the monarchy being separable from it. Today, it is called Commonwealth Rim. Crown land is considered public land and is apart from the monarch power of the state. So if it's an entail state, then that means that the only way to retrieve this state is through being that firstborn son by the process of primogeniture. And we know that under Article 161, when the United States got their legislative power to be able to separate the church and created a separation of power, it was able to separate you from the government by way of taking out the king out of his position. All right. And this is my grandson. Everybody say to Josiah Rain Jefferson. This is going to be the next primogeniture king. All right. We're going to close out on primogeniture. All right. Let's see. Where's it at? Primogeniture. All right. So we know that it says United States and Canada and British North America colonies follow English primogeniture laws. Carol Shamans argued that the issue of primogeniture, dower, courtesy, strict family settlement and equity contains collateral kin and unilateral division of real and personal property were fully developed in colonial courts. The American differed little from English policies regarding the status of widow, and lineal descent. The primogeniture laws were repealed at the time of the American Revolution. Thomas Jefferson took lead in repealing the laws of Virginia, where nearly 3/4 of tidal water lands and perhaps a majority of western lands were what? Y'all see it there? Entail, okay? So in order for the entail land to return back to the crown to be given to you as heirs, it must be retrieved by the king. And this is what your king was doing because it was stolen from us as a result of what we call common recovery. And common recovery was forbidden by Queen Imperatrice. Queen Imperatrice is a law passed by Edward I. All right, in closing. Queen Imperatrice is a statute passed by the Parliament of England in 1290 during the reign of Edward I that prevented tenants from alienating their lands to others by substitution. This is the result of what we call the Donuts Conditionalibus. The Donuts Conditionalibus said that you could not sell the land. The Donuts Conditionalibus is a chapter of English Statute of Westminster. It originated the law of entail, forbidding landowners to sell his land except to his heirs. Okay? We see here in New Jersey Revised Statute, right here, in closing, that according to our ancestral law, 46.3-2, dealing with real property, it clearly says here, under the common law, that the tenures, honors, manors, lands, tenements of hereditaments, or of an estate of inheritance at the common law held either of the King of England or any other person or body of politics or corporate at the time before July 4th, 1776, and declared by Section 3, an act entitled an act concerning tenures passed February 18th, 1795, is to now be turned to free and common sockets under the common law of England. Under the common law of England, only the common law of England. Why? Because if you're not using the common law of England, then this is how they're going to steal our estate. How did we know that? Let's show you in the statute where they recorded they stole it. Okay? They recorded they actually stole the land. right here. Everything we just read on Wikipedia is qualified right here in statute. And states entail are abolished. Whenever any conveyance, will, or instrument in writing shall hereafter be made, whereby any grantee, devisor, or other person to become seized that law and equity of such a state and real estate under the statutes of the 13th of Edward I, called the statutes of entail, would have been held in the state in fee tail or entail or any type of character, such conveyance, will, or instrument shall now be vested in a state in fee simple and such grantee, devisor, or other person. See how through that legislative power, how they vested the power to transfer the state to them, all right, by taking away the power of the king, which is the power of the primogenitor, the firstborn, okay? And as a result of that, they was able to take our estate from us. So it's going to be taken back through me and preserved through my grandson, okay? So we're already planning ahead. And with that, we're going to come here and show you the civil case again in closing. Archbishop, if you're up, give me a call before you go down. Right here. The plaintiff, number one, submits this complaint on the ground that selection and appointments of the state of New Jersey defendants number two is in violation of the provisions of Article 22, the Common Law of England, and Article 23, dealing with the reconciliation of all the property, all the heirs, all the subjects, all the taxes, all the encumbrances, all the property back to the crown representative, which is the king, based upon the 1776 Constitution, the 1844 Constitution of 1947, New Jersey. All right. And B, that every person who shall be elected as aforesaid to be a member of the Legislative Council or Assembly shall, previous to his taking his seat and Council or Assembly, take a following oath or affirmation for the reconciliation between the Great Britain and these states, later to be taken by the plaintiff who represent the crown, i.e., crown, what we call crown land. Okay, we must comprehend that because the king is the crown representative. Do y'all know that? The king is the crown representative. Let me just prove that in closing. Let's see, I think I had that up there. Right here. AI, ancestral intelligence. It even said it. Okay? It even said it. Right, Rain? It said it. AI overview. It says, yes, the king is the formal representative of the crown. Did you hear that? He is the formal representative of the crown, but the crown functions are often carried out by ministers of the crown. Those ministers are not acting right, so therefore they have to be removed. All right, so the functions are often carried out by the ministers. The crown powers and institutions are vested in the king, but the ministers are responsible to the elected parliament. Here are some of the roles of the king. He is actually the head of state, not your president, okay? The king is head of the state as well as the head of state in the UK, but the elected parliament has the power to make and pass legislation, but apparently that legislation that they passed were de facto. The symbol of a national identity, the king represents the nation and acts as the symbol of the national unity, pride, and identity. And in closing, official recognition. The king recognized excellence and success and support voluntary service. So all those who want to show their service based upon their oath due to their allegiance as a subject, please, please, please understand that you have an obligation to your kingdom, your king, and your heirs. But if you don't honor that obligation, you will be in the same situation as these foreigners are in this present day. Okay? These foreigners are in a hot seat right now as a result of them acting in an act of abjuration. As a result of that, you are in this position. Okay? You are in this position here. I don't care if you don't like it or not. You are an immigrant. Anglo-Saxon Berbers, please wake up. Your king is back. Your redeemer is back. But you have to honor your nationality. You have to honor your nation. You have to honor your country from where you say you come from. All right. So with that, how to proceed, as put forth by Brother Thomas, is to understand and remember who you are. All right. Understand and remember who you are based off the characteristics of the nationality, ethnicity, and genealogy of the Berbers, based upon what I tell you. Okay? I'm not telling you to listen to me. If you don't want to, you have a choice. Like everybody up here in North America, you have a choice, but their choice does not involve a king. Their choice is based upon the president, which you are now voting for in this present day. Okay? And it's not looking too good. All right. So with that, I'm gonna have to close out. Me and my grandson, Kasai Rain Jefferson, are going to say peace. Go like that, King. Go like that, Kasai. Like that, Day Day. You want to give a peace sign? Throw it up. Throw the peace sign up. All right. There you go. Everybody, we're going to greet you as we meet you, and that's always in peace and love. Archbishop, make sure you post a template to this actual lecture. Leave um your chats as well as your comments in the comment box, as well as all donations, free and common soakers. Please send them to $ Clifford Jefferson L or the Third Timothy English Church of England. Be counted amongst the righteous and amongst the saints, because this is the purpose and intent for us here. And with that, we're going to greet you as we meet you. And that is always is in peace and look at my beautiful grandson. See that? He got his locks. He got it. Well, he ain't got locked, but he's on his way. All right. With that, say peace, grandson. Say peace, Kasai. Say peace. Right. Y'all know what he means. Peace.